Today we are going to talk about the adoption of the WHO-ICF framework in rehabilitative stroke case management. ICF stands for International Classification of Functioning, Disability and Health, which is endorsed by the World Health Organization, WHO, for measuring health and disability at both individual and population levels. It is a classification of health and health-related domains following the International Classification of Disease, ICD. It shifts the focus from disease to functioning regardless of health conditions. In fact, ICF has wider application than ICD from clinical practice to policy making because it classifies health in general instead of classifying causes of death. The key components of ICF are body functions and structures, activities, and participation with personal and environment as contextual factors. The term functioning refers to the three ICF components, which is in contrast with the term disability, that implies impairments, activity limitations, and participation restrictions. Since it is all about disability and functioning, the environmental and personal contexts have become the factors that are crucial for revealing an individual's real performance. The ICF stresses on health and functioning rather than disability, which emphasizes a radical shift of people's disabilities to their level of health. At the individual level, activity is the execution of a task or action, for example, mobility, self-care, and communication. Activity limitations are difficulties an individual may encounter when executing activities. Participation is involvement in a life situation, such as community life, social life, domestic life, and interpersonal relationship. Participation restrictions are problems that an individual may experience when involving in any activities such as life situations. Specific body function and structure of an individual may be affected by certain health conditions to restrict activities and participation. Take stroke as an example. Such restrictions can be mediated by elements in their environment and personal characteristics, which are modifiable. Hence, the key components and contextual factors of ICF are interconnected and interact with each other in bidirectional manners. ICF is a biopsychosocial model constructed by the medical and social models. The medical model focuses on disability caused by personal factors that relies on services and treatments for addressing specific disease or health conditions. On the other hand, the social model focuses on disability caused by environmental factors that formulates interventions aiming at the environmental modifications to accommodate the need of the patient population. Hence, ICF itself is an integration of models, where disability and functioning are as a result of how an individual is interacting with the environment. These interactivities of ICF open up its wide utilization and application, from clinical practice to health and disability statistics, and eligibility from disability and social service, and vice versa. There are many well-known examples of clinical practice that are guided by the ICF framework. A few of them are listed here. There are three categories of intervention. First, treatment or training to enhance activity performance of individuals. Second, enhancement of self-management skills to facilitate their participation in the community and to build up healthy behaviors. The third is more on long-term sustainability and social role development. For stroke rehabilitation, one of the key elements in applying the ICF framework is participation-oriented goal setting and service design. For example, the rehabilitation goal of a young stroke case with right hemiplasia and speech problems can be set as going to a restaurant and ordering a lunchbox by himself independently. Another key element is creating a mutually understandable categoric profile by using the ICF stroke core set to assess and review the stroke case by different healthcare disciplines. Respective professionals use a unique set of clinical assessments. They will convert the results according to the ICF codes of the categoric profile. By adopting the case management approach and interdisciplinary collaboration, a case conference is held regularly by using ICF language and review the goal attainment together. ICF code serves as a common language among different practitioners. For example, the nurse may not understand what it is about if the physiotherapist says muscle power, while the occupational therapist says Barthel index. In clinical practice, after developing the multidisciplinary assessment form, the stroke team will go into multidisciplinary goal setting through a process that is highly involving the patient. By then, an individual functioning profile will be derived to guide the treatment plan towards the goal set for the patient case. During the process, different domains of the biological, psychological, and societal constructs are addressed. The ultimate rehabilitation goal would be to improve the activity level and enhance the participation. Particularly under the scope of activity and participation, the SMART principle is emphasized for goal setting. For example, a stroke patient would like to go meet friends at their apartments within 3 months by walking with a stick and taking public transportation independently. Therefore, it is specific, measurable, achievable after training, realistic that it reflects patient's past habit, and timely. Such goal is being developed by the patient with his or her case manager together, and reference to the inputs of the multidisciplinary team. The participation-oriented goal must be agreed and endorsed by the patient. To make it concrete and visualized, the goal is written down and even signed by the patient himself or herself. This engagement shall make the patient to own and take active participation in the rehabilitation process. Here shows some snapshots of an intervention process in both center and community settings. The speech therapist colleague formulated the speech training intervention with the foundation of physical training by the physiotherapist and occupational therapist in the center. Then she went out with a young stroke case to execute what he has planned, which is buying a lunchbox independently. To conclude, selection and adoption of the ICF framework vary case by case and in different clinical settings, which cannot be treated as a universal tool being applied directly in all situations.